The chapters in your life are written by what you hear and experience. Chapter.com gives you access to amazing audiobooks anytime you want on any connected device, always for free. What's your next chapter? Find it at Chapter.com and make sure to like us on Facebook.
This is a post-production audiobook presentation of Peter Pan by J.M. Barrie. All children, except one, grow up. They soon know that they will grow up, and the way Wendy knew was this. One day, when she was 2 years old, she was playing in a garden, and she plucked another flower and ran with it to her mother. I suppose she must have looked rather delightful, for Mrs. Darling put her hand to her heart and cried, "Oh, why can't you remain like this forever?" This was all that passed between them on the subject. But henceforth, Wendy knew that she must grow up. You always know after you are 2. 2 is the beginning of the end. Of course, Wendy lived at 14, their house number on their street, with her mother, Mrs. Darling, and her father, Mr. Darling, who had been happily married for many years. Among the children, Wendy came first, then John, then Michael. Mrs. Darling loved to have everything just so, and Mr. Darling had a passion for being exactly like his neighbours. So, of course, they had a nurse. As they were poor, owing to the amount of milk the children drank, this nurse was a prim Newfoundland dog called Nana, who had belonged to no one in particular until the Darlings engaged her. She proved to be quite a treasure of a nurse. How thorough she was at bath time, and up at any moment of the night if one of her charges made the slightest cry. Of course, her kennel was in the nursery. No nursery could possibly have been conducted more correctly, and Mr. Darling knew it. Indeed, there never was a simpler, happier family until the coming of Peter Pan. Although they had dreamed of him often, the children first met Peter late one evening when he stole in through the nursery window in search of his lost shadow. You see, he had left it behind a few days before when he had first come to visit, but had been frightened away in a hurry by Nana. The night in question, Mr. and Mrs. Darling had plans for an evening out, and for a moment after they left the house, the night lights by the beds of the 3 children continued to burn clearly. They were awfully nice little night lights, and one cannot help wishing that they could have kept awake to see Peter. But Wendy's lights blinked and gave such a yawn that the other 2 yawned also. But before they could close their mouths, all the 3 went out. There was another light in the room now, 1,000 times brighter than the night lights. And in the time we have taken to say this, he had been in all the drawers in the nursery looking for Peter's shadow, rummaged the wardrobe and turned every pocket inside out. It was not really a light. It made this light by flashing about so quickly, but when it came to rest for a second, you saw it was a fairy, no longer than your hand, but still growing. It was a girl called Tinker Bell, exquisitely gowned in a skeleton leaf.
Listening to great authors can influence how you experience the world around you. Chapter puts amazing audiobooks from the greatest authors at your fingertips, anytime and always for free. What's your next chapter? Find it on Chapter, and please give us your feedback and opinions as we grow our services.